Yes! Right here, man.
I'm Byron Burton. I'm here with the Hollywood Reporter, and I'm very happy to introduce our very esteemed guest. Let's start with Miss Poison Ivy, Diane Pershing. Everybody give a round of applause.
Yay!
This is the runway today because we have stairs on the left. Emmy-winning voice director and all-around wonderful gal, Andrea Romano.
Yeah!
Otherwise, we're very well rehearsed.
Yes, very well.
Yes.
This man needs no introduction, but the only Batman, Mr. Kevin Conroy.
Yeah! Woo! Kevin!
And who is Batman without his best friend, a true brother, Mr. Loren? Everybody.
Woo!
Hello.
Hello, Batman.
So the topic for today's panel is what made this series iconic. In my opinion, you're only as good as your weakest link. And when you look at the voice acting, the direction, the art, everyone brought their A game to this series, and that's why 26 years later, it's still renowned as the best incarnation of Batman.
Not one detail.
So I'm going to ask you guys a series of questions. If we're talking about the casting of Robin, Loren, jump in. Let's keep it loose. I want to start with Andrea. Now, not many people know this, but you had a very good, comfortable job going on at the time, and then they said, "Hey, do you want to come over to Warner Brothers?" Yes, and it was a risk. It was a bold move.
I was on staff at, actually it wasn't for Batman, but it was at Warner Bros., you're right. I was on staff at Hanna-Barbera as the casting director there. And I had, this was paid vacation, insurance, sick days, and it was a freelance job that was offered to me, and so I had to get all that security up. And it was for Tiny Toons was the first game, for Warner Bros. It was very scary, and I took the leap. I say that my career has been a series of luck and risk, and so it was both that. It was luck and risk, and so I took the chance and stopped working until 6 months ago. So it was a good choice. It was what year was that? 1989. Most of you weren't even born yet, were you?
Born 91.
So tell me a little bit about how you were sort of approached for the series. Did you see the sort of 2-minute reel that Bruce and Eric had put together?
I did, and I was working on very, if you will, cartoon shows, Tiny Toons, Animaniacs, and Bruce Tim and I were working together on, I think it was Tiny Toons he was the storyboarder for.
Oh.
And so there were very sort of broad shows we were making, and he had this idea for this Batman series, and the only Batman I had known was Adam West's live action series, which was also very cartoony. And he said, no, that's not what I want to make. I want to make a very dark night. And so that was exciting to me. That was an interesting challenge, to do something completely different, and something that required a different type of acting. All animation acting requires good acting, but there are different styles. SpongeBob is not going to be the same as Batman. Although Tom Kenny will guest on, Batman and whatnot, it's not going to be the same kind of acting. So it was a nice challenge to find a different kind of cast. As a matter of fact, I told this story before, when I was casting Batman, I heard over 500 voices for the voice of Batman. 500 different auditions for the voice of Batman. And we were down to the last couple of days of callbacks when Bruce and I said, well, we have a couple of actors that can do it, that they could be Batman. And I reached out to my roommate at the time, Anthony Barneo, who was an agent at an on-camera agency. And I said, do you know anybody who has a killer voice, a wonderful actor who might be able to voice Batman that I haven't seen yet? And he said, you should see this guy, Kevin Conroy. And Kevin came in, and we had a eureka moment. Bruce, Tim, and I went, that's it. We found it. It was a long road, but we found it. Thank God.
Yeah!
So Kevin, you're a Juilliard man. A lot of presence on stage and on screen. What was it like coming in? This was one of your very early things for voice, correct? If not the.
Well, the weird thing for me is that this is the first animated character I ever auditioned for. And that just doesn't happen, that you sort of get the brass ring the first time. It doesn't happen that way. You know, you audition, you audition, you audition, you audition. Rejection, rejection, rejection. And then finally someday you get something. This was just walking in and giving it a shot. My voiceover agent said they're putting a new show together over at Warner Brothers, Batman, why don't you give it a shot? I said, new show? Batman's been around for decades, what are you talking about? They said, no, it's never, I didn't even realize it had never been an animated show. That's how naive I was to the whole Batman genre. So I went in and I didn't even know who I was meeting. I didn't know who Bruce Timm was, I didn't know who Andrea Romano was. I didn't know I was meeting the A-Team, you know what I mean? And because I didn't know that, I had no apprehensions. I hadn't built up any kind of tension or nervousness about it. And I think that's why I got it, because I felt so free in the audition to just experiment, to just throw myself into my imagination and really take a risk. And you know, acting's all about risking. There's a saying in the theater, dare to fail. The more you dare to actually make yourself look like an idiot, the more likely you are to find something really beautiful, brilliant. But the safer you play it, the less you dare to fail, the less likely you are to have those brilliant moments. You have to be willing to look like an idiot, to find something really beautiful. And I think that's the only reason I got this job, because I threw caution to the wind. I had no anticipation of even getting the job, you know? It was just very lucky. I just put myself into that situation. I even said to Bruce Timm, well, I know the Adam West show. And he said, no, 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 no. That's not what we're doing. And he had to describe to me, you know, no, it's very noir. It's 30s film, dark. His parents are murdered when he's a child in front of him. He lives to avenge their deaths. And so I put myself into that imaginative place, and the voice that started to come out was just this very dark, husky, sexy. And you practically hired me on the spot. You said.
And at the time, too, we were discussing how we were going to play. We were discussing how we were going to play the difference between Bruce Wayne and Batman, and did we want a distinction? And for the first season or so, you'll notice there is a distinction between the voices. As the series went on, we kind of merged them, and there was a difference in attitude, Bruce Wayne and Batman.
I love doing that. As an actor, you always like to complicate your life, right? So I thought, wait a minute, he's the wealthiest, most successful, most eligible bachelor. He owns half of Gotham City, and he puts on a mask and no one knows it's him? Seriously? I said, come on. What if I disguise my voice? I was thinking as an actor, you know, I was hamming it up. I was saying, oh good, I get to play two roles. And so I made my image for Bruce Wayne was like David Niven, a kind of a real, sophisticated, charming playboy with a lot of irony, a lot of irony in his voice, and we played with that. So there was a lot of humor in Bruce Wayne the first season, and there was a real color difference in the voices, and I loved doing that. But when the show evolved, they realized it was so dark, the palette, the color was so dark, everything was so dark, and the scripts were really dark, that Bruce made the decision. He said, we've got to tone down the Bruce Wayne voice and make him closer to Batman. But keep a distinction, we like that, but just make it very subtle. So there's a dramatic change.
So let's continue with some casting stories. I know, Diane, didn't you come in for specifically a different part initially? And let's hear about that.
Yeah, unless, of course, I'm completely misremembered, which is very possible. I was hired to do a small role on the series. And what I didn't know when I walked in the door was that this was the first time Boys and Ivy would be featured. This was her introductory episode, and apparently some other actress couldn't show up, didn't show up, whatever it was. And this brilliant, fabulous woman to my right said, "Would you like to audition for this?" And I said, "Sure," because that's what you always say. You always say, "Sure."
I can do that.
I can do that, exactly, no matter what. Anyway, I looked at the script, and I think I looked at the picture of the character, and I noticed two things. She's a PhD professor, Dr. Pamela Isley. That means she's intelligent. And I looked at the picture, and she looked like Tinkerbell, only really grown up. Really
No.
curvy, really sexy, really that. So I thought, okay, intelligent yet sexy. And it came out kind of like that. And it's just, when I talk normally, I sound intelligent. I've been told that, so I'm not bragging. I just have that sound to that's who I am. But if you add a little something, that's a little bit sexier.
It's like a lilt.
You know? Yeah, it's a lilt. And I'm also a singer, and so you hear the different kinds of melodies sometimes when you do a voice job. So that came to me, and I read, and she said, "Yep, that was it."
Luck and risk.
Luck and serendipity. Serendipity. You never know on any given day, if you turn a corner, what's going to happen. And you have to keep yourself open for all of these glorious opportunities and say yes when they come along.
One of my favorite lines is in a John Lennon song. He says, "Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans." And that has been so true in my life. And I think for all of us here,
All of
in
us.
our careers, the most important thing, people say, you know, what's the most important thing you say to young people at these sessions? And I always say, school, education. You have no idea how important it is, because you don't know what life is going to throw at you. Because all it does is throw curveballs. I have had so many curveballs thrown at me and had to zig and then zag and then zig and then zag. And without training, you wouldn't be able to do it. I didn't know I was going to be a voice actor. I didn't know I was going to be Batman for 27 years. I studied with John Houseman at Juilliard. I mean, I was doing Hamlet, you know? Now I'm doing a cartoon version of Hamlet, you know, which is really what he is. I mean, life just throws nothing but curveballs. And I'm always encouraging young people to take school seriously, because you just don't know what's going to happen.
Agreed.
So now we're down to One Way Street. Loren, let's hear about your casting, how you were brought in, and
Well, first of all, I'm thrilled to hear about the golden glory days when only 500 people would read for things. That was the day, because literally it's thousands now. So I mean, 500 was a lot at the time, but it's really much more daunting. But I actually didn't know of how I got cast in this until just recently, because they did a little featurette on me for the Batman and Harley Quinn DVD. And it was like a 12-minute thing about my career. And they were interviewing Bruce, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I knew I wanted Loren right away." I was like, "Well, I wish I'd known that." Because, you know, I went through a call, I think maybe 2 callbacks, maybe, I think. But I guess he wanted me right away, and it was really nice to hear. And I mean, you would know better than because behind the scenes of how I was.
You know, even though there may be one actor that you really want to use, you have to look at how they sound compared to the other actors. So once you line up the other part of the cast, you can say, that actor fits in, or that actor sounds just like this other actor, so I can't use them even though they're really good. So it did take a little bit of time because we were assembling the whole cast. I don't remember how, did Robert come in right at the very beginning? He did. Did Robert come in?
Yeah, I was in
right
the
at very
pilot,
beginning? Yeah.
and then he disappeared for a while, and he came back later on.
Right.
But I was, of course, a huge fan of the '60s Batman series. Grew up with Burt Ward and Adam West. So, I mean, it was kind of an influence, very much an influence, how Burt Ward, the energy that he brought to the part. So that influenced the way that I created the character. But you know, Kevin and I talk about this all the time when we come to these things. It was just another great job. It was like, oh, this is a great job. This is really fun, a great job. and then we're going to move on to another job. We had no idea 27 years later.
No idea.
So at the time, we were, excited and thrilled to be doing it, but then it was like, okay, and I'm not going to go to audition for something else.
Each time you go in, the way Hollywood is structured, a lot of people don't realize, each time you go into a booking, you sign a whole new set of contracts. So it's not like you signed to do a series. Every day you go in, you're signing new contracts when you do voiceovers. So all you're guaranteed is that day. So when people say, what's it like to play a role for 27 years? I go, well, that's 365 days times 27, because each day was a new contract. You're always on tender hooks. There's no guarantees.
Let's talk a bit about Robin's Reckoning. He won the Emmy, the great writer and songwriter,
Randy Rogel.
Randy Rogel, yeah, from Animaniacs. He wrote that. So tell me a bit about what you thought when you read the script, and then also I just love the intensity that you brought to your voice. You really just showed your hatred for the Tony Zuko character.
Oh, thank you. Boy, that was such a good set of scripts. I mean, it was a two-parter, and you got the whole backstory. We didn't know anything about the backstory up to that point in the series. And so when I read it, I was just really wowed, and I couldn't wait to record it. Everybody tells me their favorite episode for Robin is Robin's Reckoning, and I can't argue with that.
And you've got a great actor for the voice of the young Robin. Talk about that casting process.
That'd be so good if I could remember. Do you remember who it was?
I don't have that. I do have Thomas F. Wilson for Tony Zuko. He did a
Yeah, I
great
remember
job.
that. Tom Wilson. Remember who that is from Back to the Future?
Yeah.
What's the character's name? Biff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Biff Tannen.
He still works now as
Biff
terrific.
Butthead Tannen.
But I honestly can't tell you I remember who the kid was.
Butthead.
The thing about casting kids is, especially young boy kids, is their voices change. And so they're wonderful, they're great actors, and you love them, and the next time they come in, they sound like a man. And so you have to recast them, which is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It really is.
And that's why I became Nightwing, because I became a man.
Well, we're so Lauren has that wonderful ability to sound very youthful, and even when I first met him, he was already an adult man. But he had a very youthful voice that could pull it off, which is part of why you got the kid, was because he could convincingly do that. And that issue with kid voices, young boy voices changing, is why Nancy Cartwright is Bart Simpson. Because they never had to recast her, they never had to. And I directed a series for Nickelodeon called Avatar: The Last Airbender. And that was
Yeah!
And that was one of the series where they actually let the character age with the actor. So if you watch the animation of that, you'll see like the kid's muscles start developing, right? He starts with very kid-like arms, very kind of straight, no muscle definition.
Yes.
And as he gets older, he gets more defined, and his voice gets deeper, and we're able to keep the same actor, which is another thing. So my point is, this kid was probably fantastic because I cast him, and he was probably quite wonderful. There must have been something he did that was Loren-like, though, which is why I must have cast him. So I apologize to that young actor, whoever he is. It's probably Leo DiCaprio or something.
I was looking at episodes where everyone appeared together, and one of those that was very good was House and Garden, where Ivy turns over a new leaf, at least we think.
My favorite episode. This is where Ivy gets to live a fantasy that I suspect that she's always had, which is to have a husband and children and a home and feel part of. And she convinces Batman, well, sort of, he's a little skeptical. He can't believe it because she seems that she's turned over a new leaf. She has this lovely husband and these darling little children, and she keeps saying to him, I've changed, really I have. Yes, it's me, you can believe it. And then later on, it turns out, no, she really hasn't. The husband and the children are plant-based. So, hello, they're not actually people. And she becomes heartbroken and evil at the same time. So this was I thanked the writers afterwards for the real acting chops I got to display when I was doing this particular one. It's my favorite. In fact, I think about it and I cry a little because, every villain is the hero of their own story. So if Poison Ivy villains and very evil, she really has a reason for what she's doing, which is that she's trying to save all the plant life on the planet. So for her, it makes sense. This one, she got to be closer to a real human being with all those wonderful things that women can do with husbands and children and so on, and she never can be that, and she realized it, and it's very sad. So I love that one, thank you.
Yes, such a great performance. Then Kevin and Loren were fighting giant cactuses once So I'm curious, let's talk a bit about Harley and Ivy, which is it speaks to a lot of people on so many levels, especially with the abusive relationship that's highlighted between the Joker and Harley, and how Ivy is this very independent woman with self-confidence and respect, and she's trying to sort of give Harley her freedom, whether she wants it or not.
Well, this has been interesting in the Comic-Cons because several young women have come up to me and said, and this is the truth, that there was abuse in their childhood from males who were more powerful. And that when they saw the show and saw Harley being told by Poison Ivy that you do not let men do that to you, it is not okay, that it changed their lives. And to know as an actor that something that you did had that kind of effect, and they come up to me, the young women, with tears in their eyes because they're remembering the abuse. It's kind of overwhelming, and it's an honor to have played a character that has this very, very important message, certainly in the Me Too days that we're living in now. It is not okay to allow yourself to be abused. So that interesting combination, Arlene Sorkin, who plays Harley Quinn, is a good friend of mine, and we talk about this, that we hope that the characters convey that message. They also convey a bunch of crazy, nutsy things, but that's a whole other story.
Well, that's the thing. Harley's nuts. I mean, she's
Harley is
she's
nuts.
crazy.
No, Poison
So
Ivy
she
looks
tolerated
sane compared to
Right.
Harley.
And so Ivy is explaining to this crazy person that's not the appropriate way to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Another really deep emotional episode, and I think this is your favorite, Kevin, is Her Chance to Dream, where Batman gets everything he thought he wanted in his dream. And you got to play your own father. And that was a very great performance.
Yeah, it is a favorite episode. And I got to play Batman Bruce Wayne, and then Batman drugged, and then young Bruce Wayne, and then Thomas Wayne, the father. So there were 5 different characters that had to be relatable but distinct. Do you remember? I originally wanted to do it in real time to record. Can I record these characters in real time, like acting with myself? And Andrea said, "You want to act with yourself?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm the best actor I know." I can't think of anything I'd rather do. I'm just kidding.
Try.
We did do it that way for a while. And then he said, "Okay, now that you've gotten to play with yourself, let's do each character separately, and then we'll edit it together." But to me, the whole drama of Batman is the drama of his childhood, the psychology, the damage that was done to him, and the triumph of him is how he triumphs over such adversity and doesn't let it destroy him. It's such a model for all of us, and I think it's the real kernel of the show. So anything that goes back to that formation of him, I think is a great story, like Mask of the Phantasm. I think it's the best Batman movie.
It is.
Yeah.
Because it tells the whole genesis of where it came from, and then he confronts the vow he made to his parents because he falls in love. But
With someone named Andrea.
It's something
Just
named
saying.
Andrea.
Just saying.
But to get back to Chance to Dream, it's because he's drugged and he goes back to his childhood and he's talking to his parents and I just loved acting that role.
I'm trying to remember exactly because I love that episode too. But it's a Mad Hatter
Mad
episode,
Hatter,
right?
yeah.
Now, do you ever speak? Is it Mad Hatter who's speaking as Batman at some point? Aren't you fighting against Mad Hatter at one point in the dream?
once the mask comes off, it's Mad Hatter's voice. Yeah, but when he's Batman.
Acting-wise, I'm asking, did you ever have to channel?
I think we did.
I think so too.
I think we did.
I think it kind of messed a little bit with the timing and the rhythm
Of doing the Mad Hatter voice as Batman.
Exactly. But we wanted it to be very, not noticeable at all, very subtle, so that afterwards you go, oh, I did hear that. But
And that was
you didn't
writing
take
it
off.
down.
Correct.
Roddy
Lucky
McDowell. I mean, the cast that we had, the guest stars,
I have to
incredible.
say, people have given me lots of compliments about the casting on that show. The reality is, you call up an agent and you say, I'm working on this show. It's called Batman. You don't have to go any farther than that. They already they're listing off their clients that they know want to be a part of it. It's not like a brand new show that you have to go, it's this show about this guy whose parents got murdered and blah, blah. They know what it is and everybody wants to be a part of the show.
But that happened once it had been established, once people
No.
saw. You told
Yes.
me in that first
Yes.
thing, you said, I have no trouble getting anyone on the show because
Right.
everyone sees
Right.
this is the classiest show on TV.
Right,
This
and
is just so beautiful.
that's absolutely true. But what I'm saying is, when you're a casting director and you call, the first thing you have to do is describe the show. Who is Batman? Well, they know who Batman is, just generally. From the Adam West, from comic books, however they know Batman. They're familiar with the characters. And so many actors, this is how Mark Hamill came to us. Mark Hamill reached out to me and said,
Hamill?
through his agent, I want to be a part of the Batman series. And so I brought him in for a guest, and he came in and he was great. He had all kinds of wonderful Star Wars stories to tell us. And he stayed a long time after the session and enthralled us and talking. As Mark is wont to do.
He tells stories.
Right,
man.
they're great. And he
They're
cuts them out
great.
because they're so good. But he put me aside at the end of that and said, thank you for this gig, it was fabulous, but I really want to be a part of the Batman series. I did not know what a collector he was, what an expert on the field he was.
Oh, yeah.
He knows so much. And so, coincidentally at the time, we were casting the Joker, recasting the Joker, really. And it just worked out perfectly. It really was a perfect combination of timing where he became our Joker, and again, 27 years later, still voicing the Joker.
And a secret weapon we had in developing the show was Andrea. People don't realize, I don't think a lot of the audience realizes, voice acting is acting. It's acting. You create a full character as much as you would if it was on stage. But you only have your voice to tell the story. You don't have your body to tell the story to the audience. You only have your voice. And so to have someone guiding you who started training as an actress and then got into the technical side of the business, but so she knew how actors think. And a dirty little secret in Hollywood is that actors are not really respected by a lot of people. They're kind of tolerated, but they're not respected. And Andrea really respects what actors have to deal with. She knows how hard our lives are. She knows how temporary jobs are. And she honors you when you come in. She honors your intellect. And she coaxes the performance out of you, knowing how to talk to actors. If you give an actor a line reading, it's always going to sound like someone imitating your line reading. But if you can guide them to the line reading, if you can get them to, if you can inspire them to go where you want them to go, then it'll sound organic, and it'll sound fresh, and it'll be unique to that actor. And she's great at getting that.
I just want to add one thing. Very rarely now when an animated series is done, are you in the room with people. And it was so wonderful that we were always there. Actually, the entire cast was always there, unless it was Frank Welker, who had 50 other bookings to go to. But everybody was there, and it was done like a play. And when Andrea was directing us, we would get through quite a bit of the script before she'd stop us if there's a mistake or wanted something different, or if the producers wanted something different. But we would actually be doing this like a play, and we all had theater backgrounds, so that was very exciting to us, and that setting up that atmosphere was very important.
It's called ensemble recording, when you record all the actors together, and why I really endorse that so much is an enormous part of acting is reacting. And so if you actually can play a scene where you hear Poison Ivy and Batman and Robin all play a scene together, you can run that scene once, twice, and you know if it worked or not. You can tell right there. And then you can make an adjustment to all three of them at the same time and say, okay, That scene is really
Good thing
taking
I'm not
place
at
at
the
some
office
place where
today.
you have
I'm
to
Steven.
act.
Steven, you
So
were
no,
first.
because we do, when we record actors separately, you do get a scene where someone is talking like this, and the next guy is talking like this, and then we have to go back in and revoice it to make it make sense. So any of those adjustments, when the actors are in the room at the same time, they can react to each other. Kevin may give Diane the cue a little bit differently, and that will get a different reaction from her. And then that will make Loren's response a little bit different. And that's organic and real and in the moment and exciting.
Acting is as much reacting as it is acting. And you can only react to the other actor if they're there. If you're acting in a vacuum, you're not reacting to anybody. So I love the fact that you guys all there.
And unfortunately, almost none are done that way.
No one else does it though.
Because people are all over the world, people are very, very busy schedules, whatever, you know, it's sad because it was just a joy. You know, I had Mark Hamill on my right and Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. on my left. I mean, excuse me.
Yeah, Mark couldn't be here today. He's painting himself blue for the next Star Wars movie. So,
Yeah.
what I loved about the
He's
series too is
dead.
that they treated their characters like they were smart. For example, with the Riddler episode,
Because he's dying.
Loren, your character is explaining how the game works to Batman. You're trying to save the life of this poor guy that the Minotaur is going to cut in half. So with time running
Minotaur?
down, Batman
Oh,
decides,
wait a
okay,
minute.
we can't get there, so if I go down the wrong path, the hand of fate will come get me and I can hotwire it right there. Not many shows do that. They try and, make the characters just stumble along, but I think that, the writers really treated you
I'll
guys.
tell you about If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich? Which
Great title.
was a great title, and also one of my favorite episodes for me personally, because I actually became partners with Batman in figuring out, a lot of the episodes were, what are we gonna do, Batman? And this one, we really worked as a team together, and that's what I love too, when the show evolved later into the Batman Adventures, and I was Nightwing, there was a lot of tension because we were partners, but we also were becoming like partners working on the crimes together, and that was really fun.
The writers in this series were so remarkable.
Amazing.
The thing is, I was very lucky that at this particular time in my life when we were making the initial series, I was doing a lot of other projects at the same time. And so you get scripts and scripts and scripts and scripts, and I would grab the Batman script first to read it because I knew it was going to be exciting, it was going to be interesting, it was going to be entertaining, it was going to have its casting challenges, but there was going to be something, some twist, some wonderful something. And they kept it throughout. How many did we make? Did we make like 100? I think we did. I think so. And so, and there were different writers that came in and out, but I love the fact that you mentioned Randy Rogel before. Randy Rogel started writing on Batman the Animated Series and then went off to show us how incredibly talented he was at writing musical numbers for Animaniacs, where he wrote The Countries of the World that Yakko sings, and The States and the Capitals, and that one